Okay, in this video we're going to talk about functions. We've already introduced functions a little bit. So you define a function by using the keyword def or def, and then you give it a function name. I'm going to call this one say hello, and then you enclose the arguments to the function in parentheses. So if it takes no arguments, you just put your parentheses like that, and then you put a colon, and then you can enter your function code. So we'll just print hello there. And then you can close out the function by typing return. And you can see that when I typed return followed by the semicolon, it automatically put the indentation all the way back to the left. So now we can call the function. So we'll go ahead and run that code, and it prints hello there. Alright, so let's try another example. This time we're going to pass a string parameter to the function. So I'm going to say def display message, and then we're going to pass a string parameter, and we're just going to print out the string. Alright, so let's try calling it without passing an argument. So when I do that, you get an error message, and down here it says type error, display message takes exactly one argument, 0 given. Now on the other hand, if we create a variable, call it my string message is equal to today is Friday, and then I pass it in, so I'll put my string message. Now you see it printed out the message. Now we can also pass arrays and numbers. Let's check. Let's do an example with some numbers. So I'm going to say a function sum numbers. It's going to take two arguments a and b. Notice they're separated by commas. I'm going to say c is equal to a plus b, and then we'll print the result and return. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say let's give them different names. num1 is equal to 17, and I'll say num2 is equal to 28. So then I'll call the function. I'll say sum numbers, and we'll pass num1 and num2. And you see it summed the numbers and printed out the result 45. So let's go ahead and set one up that takes an array as an argument, or not an array, a list. So I'm going to say def, and we're going to go ahead and change the value in here just to illustrate. Parameters in Python are passed by reference, so the original is going to get changed. So I'm going to say set first name, and we're going to have a list as our parameter. And what we're going to do is we're going to say name list 0 is equal to Bob, return. So we'll go down here and we'll create a list. My list. We'll just make up some names. Harry, George, Dana, and Lisa. So we'll go ahead and print before function call, and we'll go ahead and print the first item. So we'll say my list 0. Then we're going to call it set first name my list. Then we'll print again after function call my list 0. Okay, so there you see it changed it. So before the function call it was Harry, and after the function call it prints Bob. If we just print the whole list, you can see that the other items were left unchanged. So you got to remember that your functions in Python are going to be passing by reference. So the value is going to be changed. So if you need to save a value, you need to store it somewhere else, or just accept the fact it's going to be changed and deal with that. Okay, so let's look at another way you can call a function. So I'm going to go ahead and create another function, definition sayIt, string, and we're just going to print the string out again. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to create a message. Just going to call hello. And then I'm going to call the function, and I'm going to write it like this. I'm going to sayIt string equals my message. And you can see, so went ahead and assigned my message to string in the function and printed that out. So we can do that with numbers too. And we can also create default parameters. So I'm going to say def square number, and I'm going to have it pass one number, but I'm going to give it a default value of 2. I forgot the colon. So we'll go ahead and square the number in here. And then we'll print squared result equals C return. And now I'm going to call it without passing anything. Okay, so it said my val is not defined. Let's try passing a variable without assigning it. Sorry about that, I made a stupid mistake. I put my value instead of my val. So let's get rid of this. Alright, so let's get rid of this up here too. Okay, so I called square number without passing a value. So it went ahead and used the default. So it's put 2 times 2 is 4. But we can also call this but with a variable. So I could say a is equal to 8 and then call square number a. And there you see it got squared result is 64. So just to review, if you put a default value for one of your parameters and you don't fill in that parameter, it'll go ahead and do the calculation with the default value. So we could create another function. Let's just call this test function, and I'm going to have it pass a string, and also I'm going to have it pass a number, and we'll call it age, and we'll give it a default value of 29. And so we'll say print string is age years old, return. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say test function, and this is going to give an error. Let's go ahead and get rid of the square number function. Okay, so it gave an error. Takes at least one argument. So when there's a default value specified for one of the arguments, it's not required. So then we could say John, like this. And now it worked. It said John is 29 years old. And then we can come down here and we can say my name equals Fred. My age equals 35. And then I can call test function my name, my age. so that it says Fred is 35 years old. So that should give you an idea of how to use functions with parameters that have their values specified for default behavior.